Well, everybody, I see you've made it through the introductions. This week we're going over chapter one. There's 10 chapters of the book. This is the book, if you haven't found it yet. I chose to use an older edition because it's cheaper and the information's just as good. So I'm hoping this will help you folks figure out what we're doing in this class. This, by the way, is my basement office at home. I hope the lighting's okay, the sound's okay. If not, make sure you folks email me and let me know what's going on. Because if I have some poor quality stuff, I need some feedback. Although I'm not looking at becoming a video uh, blog internet sensation, I hope it's decent anyway. So if you remember in the introduction, I talked about intrapersonal and interpersonal. Now, once again, intrapersonal is the conversations we have inside ourselves. And a lot of times, those are seeds, shall we say, that drive us into other stuff. And interpersonal is with other people. So, what is conflict? Well, conflict is perception. If you don't see it, it may not be there. It may be there, but you may not see it because you have blinders, you have tunnel vision. So a lot of it is about perception. What do we perceive as a conflict? Well, the book has a generally accepted definition of conflict. An expressed struggle between at least two interdependent parties, who perceive incompatible goals, scarce resources, and interference from others in achieving their goals. Now, as most academic definitions go, it's kind of wordy, but they're trying to be precise. And the expressed struggle is the interpersonal part. If you have intrapersonal, it inside you, you can have this struggle going on and not let somebody know that there's a problem. So unless you express the struggle between you and whomever else, it's not considered conflict, interpersonal conflict anyway. Interpersonal, with somebody else, whether that be your significant other, your parents, your sibling, your friend, somebody from work, somebody that there's an interdependence on. Now, when you're driving down the road, and by the way, I haven't driven since probably before most of you were born. A lot of people get really road rage, get upset. Well, that's not really conflict because there's no intrapersonal thing going on there. And the only thing that you're interdependent on is hopefully they're not going to kill you. But we get this rage a lot of times, and that's not really conflict. So communication behavior often creates the conflict. Think about that. If your significant other or mom or dad or somebody says, so and so, so and so, so and so, and you're not listening, and then they yell at you for not listening, they're expressing the conflict. A lot of times communication is nonverbal. Communication behavior reflects the conflict. If there is a problem between you two people, your behavior will show that. One of and this is kind of a sexist joke, but actually it goes both ways. If my wife says, I say, what's wrong? She says, nothing. It means something is wrong. I just have to figure out what it is. And I'm not saying that that's just a woman thing. guys are just as guilty in many times. What's wrong? Nothing. And sometimes we say nothing because we don't know how to say it without starting a fight. Other times we some strange reason, we'll talk about this later on, we think they should know. You know what you did. No, I don't. If I did, I wouldn't be asking. And I'm sure some people lie about that. You know they did something wrong and they got caught. And it's like, you know what you did? No, I didn't. I don't know. Um, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about the 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 really, when people say something like that and you really don't know. And that's part of the communication reflection of this. Communication is a vehicle for productive or destructive conflict management. So we've decided that conflict is a problem between people that are interdependent on one another, or interdependent on one another. But what is conflict management? Well, productive conflict management is getting to the bottom of it and getting rid of the conflict. Destructive conflict management is not handling the situation properly and causing more problems. So, interdependence. We are dependent upon one another. And unproductive interdependence is gridlock. And the book uses the description of being stuck in traffic. You know, you get frustrated, you get angry, you can't go anywhere. And I'm sure most of you at this age in your life have gone through some type of unproductive interdependence. And it's aggravating. So let's talk about perception. Perception of incompatible goals. You only need to go as far as to look at our government to see some of this. You know, the two parties both say they want to make things better. Both say that they want this, they want to all this other political crap they say and rhetoric. But they each say that no, my way is the way to do it. My way. We got to do it my way. That's the only way we can reach this goal. And the other guy says, no, we got to do it my way. That's the only way we can reach the goal. Where in truth, there's a gray zone in the middle. And if people would, to use a political term, work across the aisle, a lot of times they'll figure out that there's many different ways to do it that will appease both sides. But the perception is they're interfering with what I want to do. Scarce resources. If it's, monetary, I really want to buy me a new boat. My wife, on the other hand, she wants to get a four-wheeler. Well, we can't afford to get both. And, but I want a boat. So our resources, if you look at it from a financial perspective, which is something I'm sure you're all familiar with, a lot of times we have the money to do one thing, but not both things. Or we want a house. Well, I want $1 million house. My wife wants a $200,000 house. So the resources limit, and then we have to negotiate around that stuff. And interference. Interference, if I spent 20 years in the Army, and I always say the hardest job in the military is the spouse. And the great thing about it was that I didn't perceive interference from her. She handled this stuff while I was away. When I retired and I wanted to go to college, I didn't get interference from her. I got support. So perceived interference is you see somebody getting in your way. This is what I want to do, and you are interfering with it, making it not work. Now, can you read minds? I mean, that's what I was talking about earlier. When you know what you did wrong. No, I don't. I think everybody in here will admit they cannot read minds. Now, if you're really close to somebody, you might have a good idea of what they're thinking in certain situations. But sometimes we act like those people close to us should be able to read our mind, especially in conflict. Especially when we're having some type of conflict going on, they really don't know where you stand or what your perception is or how you see things or why you want to do this if you don't tell them. And I didn't run across it in the chapter, but it brings me to the point of how many times have you argued with somebody close to you, had a conflict, and 2 or 3 days later, you don't even know why you had it. What were we arguing about? I don't know. Because a lot of times what you argue about isn't what the actual problem is. But because neither one of you expressed your honest opinion, you had this intrapersonal thing going on in your head. And they had this intrapersonal thing going on in their head. And he didn't pick up his clothes. He put dirty dishes in the sink. He did this, he did that, he did the other. And then finally he put the toilet paper on the wrong way. And that's what I blew up about. Well, it wasn't the toilet paper. It was everything that drew up to it. So, we can't read minds. And nobody else can read ours. Now, oftentimes, like I said, if you're really close to somebody, they know what you're thinking in many circumstances. But more often than not, that's not in a conflict situation. When we go to Country's Barbecue, my wife knows what I'm going to order. When we go to McDonald's, she knows what I'm going to order. When I go to the liquor store, she knows what I'm going to buy. So, she knows she can read my mind in those instances. But it seems like we take it for granted that, you know what I'm thinking then, so why don't you know what I'm thinking now? And because they don't know what you're thinking right now, then that causes more conflict. They should know. So, why do we study conflict? Well, if we study conflict and we learn how to manage conflict productively, it can help with our own mental health. And if you've watched any of the news in the last 10 years, you'll see there is a mental health problem in the United States. But not only does it help our mental health, it helps the mental health of the children around us. If you have kids, if you have younger siblings, it helps them to understand there is a way to manage stuff productively. It helps friends. It helps mentees. It helps peers because you set the example and show them this is how you can do this. It helps relationships. Now, I don't know how many of you are in a serious relationship, and it may be more serious than you think it is. On the other hand, it may not be as serious as you think it is. But if you want a relationship that can handle, they tell you growing up that marriage is 50-50. You're going to fall in love and live happily ever after. Well, I hate to tell you this, we've been lied to you. Society's lied to you. Your parents lied to you, or whoever told you that. because it's not living happily ever after because it's work. And part of the work is resolving these conflicts. The other part of it, the 50-50 part, is I have been married 40 years and I cannot tell you very many times where it was 50-50. Many times it was 100 me and 0 her. Other times it was 100 her and 0 me. Well, in the long run, it's worked out to 50-50. But we didn't keep score. I have seen a lot of conflict started because people were keeping score. We did what you wanted last time. Okay. No, we didn't. We did what you wanted. No, we didn't. We did what you... Yeah. You see the point. Workplace. You've all probably had a job at some point in time in your life by now. Like I said, I've got 30 students or so, and it's I can't make a blanket statement. But did you have a workplace that you look forward to going to? Or did you have a workplace that was like, damn, I don't want to go to work? Because the people there were toxic. Or have you gone to a restaurant or a store where the employees were toxic and you really didn't want to go there again? So how do we do this? Well, we develop skills that we're going to talk about in the next 9 chapters on how to become a more proactive way to resolve conflicts. Because none of us are born with the ability to manage conflict. It's not one of those things that we're born with. Just like learning to walk, learning to ride a bicycle, you're learning to use a spoon, learning to use a computer, learning to use a typewriter. We had to learn these things. And we have to learn these skills. And nobody's going to, pick it up and boom, I got it. I went to blind rehab in August and I was there for 3 weeks and there's this program called JAWS that allows me to use a computer without a monitor. My computer will talk to me. So when I lose the rest of my vision, I can still do stuff like this. So I had this great idea that I was going to be there for 3 weeks and come around and be 100% JAWS proficient. Nope, didn't do it. I'm still struggling with it. And it's the same with these skills. It takes not only learning them, but years of practice. I learned Braille, but I didn't practice it, so I don't know Braille anymore. So when you get these skill set, you're going to have to practice them. Now, the book talks about emotional intelligence on page 16 and 17. This chart covers both pages. And it's got 4 subcategories and then a bunch of categories, or 4 categories and a bunch of subcategories under them. I'm only going to talk about the subcategories. But to be good at conflict resolution, you need something called emotional intelligence. Self-awareness. You have to honestly be able to see who you are, where you are, and what's going on around you. Self-management. Manage your anger, manage your temper, manage your biases, manage your prejudices, manage your preconceived notions of other people. Social awareness. Not only do you have to know you, self, you have to know society around you. What is society like? What is prevalent in this particular culture? And social skills. A lot of times that's something we take for granted. We don't necessarily, how shall I say this? Try to hone our social skills. We learn some of them, and it gets us in with our cultural group. And sometimes we need to learn other social skills. The book talks about something called the crew fable, the rescue crew fable. And the story, summarize it real quick. Some people are on the lake or the river and they see a body and they pull it out and they get her taken care of and patched up and breathing. And then there's another body, and then there's another body. And then so they start building structures there to take care of all these people. And then somebody shows up from out of town and they're talking about who's going to be charged, who's doing this, who's doing the other. And he says, he takes off going upstream. It's like, where are you going? Get back here because we got work to do. He said, I'm going up there to figure out where everybody's getting pushed in. You know, what started it? You can put all the band-aids you want on an argument, on a conflict, on a relationship. But if you don't find where the problem is manifesting, then you're not going to fix the problem. So you need to, use these skills to see what's the problem. You use your communication, talk to one another, find out what's the problem. Don't just assume they know what's wrong. No, they may not. And the book talks about something called the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Well, there is, let's see, 4 areas that they say if these are going on, your relationship is not going to last. Criticizing was the first one. Are you or someone you're in a relationship with always critical? And don't get me wrong, you can be critical, but is it always criticizing? I like constructive criticism. For example, when I started this video, I said, if there's a problem with the lighting or the sound or something, let me know. But you can do that in a way that's not demeaning to the person that you're talking to. If somebody you care about has health issues, well, you don't have to start by, you're fat. All you do is eat junk food. That's not going to help. You can start out with, I'm really worried about your health. Let's work on this together. Defensiveness. Are you or somebody you're in a relationship with, this could be work or school or family or intimate, are they always defensive? Well, you started it. Well, I do the best I can. Or, so defensiveness is one of the 4 horsemen. Stonewalling. I'm pretty sure you have seen people stonewall sometime in your lifetime. We need to talk about this. Okay. I'm there and I'm pretending to listen, but I'm not talking to you about it. And I don't really care because I don't want to talk about it. But I'm not going to argue with you about it. I'm just going to stand here and let you say what you want to say and not participate and not get my input. And that's all there is to it. And just, let's see, contempt. Is anybody contemptuous? Are they always making you feel bad, pointing out your faults? If those 4 things are in your relationship, there's going to be a lot of work to get it fixed. Destructive habits. Now, we have our communication skill set. And in that, we have habits. One thing, especially nowadays with these nice little devices like this, a lot of times our habit is, yeah, yeah, I'm listening. Yeah. And to be honest with you, it bugs the heck out of me. But it bugged the heck out of me when I was talking to somebody and they were doing it. But then one day I was sitting on the front porch and I noticed my wife came out and instead of turning out of the chair I was sitting and looking up and talking to her, I just sat there on my phone. So I made it a point to put the phone down when she came out on the porch or into my office or wherever I'm at. So there's other destructive habits that we have as far as conflict management. One of them is manipulate, intimidate, or a type, manipulation, intimidation. Is the person that you having a conflict with, or are you? This is where the self-awareness part comes in, folks. Manipulative, or do you intimidate people? Violence and rage. Same question. You or somebody you're in a relationship with or a conflict with. As soon as you try to bring it up, do they just get violent rage? I'm not necessarily beat you. I'm not. There's other types of violence, but I mean that's one. Throw things, storm, get mad. Do you do that when somebody tries to handle a conflict with you? A unilateral decision. You know, sometimes you have to act unilaterally. Sometimes you have to make a decision. You're driving a car. I'm riding with you. I say take a right. You go straight. But I told you to go right. I know you told me to go right, but I can't go right. Why? The bridge is out that way. Oh, okay. It doesn't settle that easy, especially if it's something else. I'm by my boat. I don't care what my wife wants. We'd see how that unilateral decision works out. It would not be pretty, let me tell you. Lingering resentment. Did you or somebody you were in a conflict with do something, maybe a unilateral decision, and it wasn't what you wanted or wasn't what they wanted? You have that lingering resentment now. You know, they didn't even listen to me. This is what I thought they should do. And it can happen at work too, you know. Boss says, we're going to do this. Well, you're a new boss here. We've been here for 10 years, and we tried it before and it don't work. We're going to do it anyway. Okay. We'll see. And that's kind of the intrapersonal part as well. You know, we get this lingering resentment in our head, nagging at us because that person's such an asshole. Well, you're not going to help the situation. Cutthroat tactics. You see this especially in politics all the time. You know, they lie, cheat, deceive, whatever they have to do to win. And it happens in personal relationships. It happens at work. Because that coworker, they want that day off or they want that promotion. Bring in others. I think part of the reason my wife and I made it is because 20 years in the Army, we were always somewhere else, most often overseas. But I've seen a lot of guys in the Army and girls get married to somebody local. You know, their family's somewhere else, but they married somebody local. And they have a fight. And so spouse brings local family into it. Mama's boy brings mama. See, mama's on my side. Or wife brings in mama. Mama's on my side. You know, it's a bad habit. It doesn't help the situation to bring others in. Believing everything is black and white. This is it. Life's not black and white. It's a big freaking gray zone. What is right for me is not right for somebody else. I can't tell them they have to do it my way. One big argument going on is religion. Another one is marriage. And it's, remember we started this off saying it's perception. It's perception. How do you perceive this? And if you perceive it as black and I perceive it as white, we're never going to find out what's in the gray zone that could actually make us both happy. My way or the highway. Then we joke in my house, and if you know, mom ain't happy, nobody happy. And grandma's the boss. And she doesn't make all the decisions. I don't make all the decisions. The really big decisions we talk about, there's some decisions that we make just, she makes it, back her up, I make it, she backs me up. Some decisions we make are no thought whatsoever. I go to the store, I walk in there, I get gain, I put it in the buggy, and I go on. Why did I get gain? Because that's what my wife wanted. That's what she likes. Do I care? No, I don't care. We were going to buy a new dining room table. And she was so conflicted. She didn't know if she wanted a rectangle or an oval. A rectangle or an oval. And she said, what do you want? I said, flat. Because I really didn't care. That didn't help her any. It didn't help the situation. I wasn't trying to be facetious or mean or anything else, but it didn't matter to me. So we talked a little bit about later on, and we got an oval one because she had an oval one growing up. I had an oval one growing up and thought that was the best thing to get. Sometimes your conflict, that could have been bad had we saying that. She could have really gotten upset because she was trying to figure something out and I wasn't being helpful. Luckily, it didn't. Escalatory spirals. You ever heard anybody say they got divorced because they grew apart? Well, that's kind of like escalatory spirals and even avoidance spirals. I mean, you just get farther and farther and farther down the road. Escalatory is, why did you do that? None of your business. I'm going to do so-and-so. I told you not to get involved. Well, I did it anyway. Well, I told you to stay out of it. And it keeps getting, and I told your mama you did it. You just escalate. You've got to do them one better. One-upsmanship. I'll show you, damn it. Try this. And you become farther and farther apart. Avoidance spirals. You see a problem, you see conflict, and you both avoid it. And actually, the book says that if you're both avoidance, then it can actually make for a lasting relationship because it doesn't matter enough to either one of you to bother with it. Kind of like the flat, I don't care. But avoidance spirals, the way they're talking about it, is it bothers you. It's bothering you that your partner doesn't want to talk. It's bothering your partner that you want to talk about it. So we're going to avoid each other. And then next week, when something else comes up, we're going to avoid that too. And it begins. Eventually, we're going to avoid everything. Attack and withdraw. You ever had somebody like jump on you out of nowhere, like an attack? I've been trying to keep this house clean and you're not helping. And then poof. And so now you're irritated because, they started this and they didn't want to finish it. Retaliation. That goes to the one-upsmanship. I'll show you. You think you can do that to me? You watch and see what I can do. And then they're going to retaliate. And then they're going to, it's, you want to know what retaliation is? Look at the news and see what's going on in the world. One country attacks another country, and then they attack with it back, and they retaliate back and forth. So, what opportunities does conflict resolution have for you? Well, the book puts it pretty precise, and it's two Chinese characters are danger and opportunity. If there is a conflict, it can present a dangerous place to tread because whoever you're having that conflict with may not be willing to hear your side of it. I have many friends that are of one political persuasion that I'm not of. I'll leave it at that. And I cannot talk to them about it because they're right. I'm wrong. But, I kind of see your side. And be honest with you, I watched like 4 different news channels because I want all the perspectives. And I understand where you're at on this point, but nope, all right. And then it could escalate in everything else. Opportunities? You have a great opportunity to improve your mental health. You have a great opportunity to improve your life, the lives of those around you. You have a great opportunity to help people see because we disagree doesn't mean we need to hate one another. We can resolve this. I may never see it your way, and you may never see it my way. But if we communicate and talk about it, and we understand where each side's coming from, then even if we don't agree, we can agree to disagree. And there is no panacea. Nothing in all the books on communication I have has one answer for anything. You have to have different skill sets. You have to be able to juggle different things. One approach does not always work. And to be good and skilled at it, you need to practice. And trust me, you're going to make some mistakes. You ever been in an argument and said the wrong thing? I have, when I teach public speaking in class, not online, I put groups of students, and I give each one of them a tube of toothpaste, a little tube. And I said, okay, the task is get the toothpaste out as quickly as possible. Go. And so somebody says done. I said, okay, now here's the task, put it back in. Huh? Put it back in. But no, put it back. And that's the same with words, okay? Especially if there's a conflict, you need to be selective with your words if you are trying to resolve this conflict. You can't just speak out of anger. You can't just speak out of passion. You may be passionate about something, but you have to realize whoever you're in conflict in may be just as passionate on the other end of that conflict. It may be something as insignificant as buying a table. It may be something as significant as ending a marriage or getting somebody fired. So you have to be precise with the words that you use so you don't pour more gasoline on the fire, so to speak. Well, that's chapter 1. Hopefully this week I will get the PowerPoints, some PowerPoints up. I'm not sure about that yet. But read the chapter, read my notes, watch the video, and answer the discussion under chapter 1. And comment on 2 peers, okay? Once again, if there's any problems with this video, let me know. Any other things you want to talk about, let me know. You got my email address. Take care. Have a great semester. Bye.